All right. Welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson Knight, sitting down with the lead cub, best cub, Techy Joe. How are you, honeys?
I'm doing okay. How are you this evening?
A little shaky, a little like in a mood, like the energy is a little wonky for me. It's a Saturday night. We're gonna party. We're gonna have fun in a little bit, and just trying to make everything kind of run through. I mean, our news has been shit here lately, so we ain't got a lot of news to talk about.
Yeah, like there's not a lot of good news. There's not a whole lot of
Bad news.
non-Cheeto news.
Yeah.
Like,
Hello, Miss Brenda. How are you, honey? There's a lot of,
Brenda.
and we knew this was happening. This is why you guys have been seeing different content from us. Because I won't. Sorry, I'm not giving him attention. That's how I got, in my house that I need to send a get the fuck out note to. But at the same time, I just don't want to talk about it. Y'all guys hit it everywhere. You need a breath somewhere, and that's where our podcasts come in. Yes, we've changed them. We've changed them because my schedule changed. My schedule's about ready to get really busy. The office is open.
Mm-hmm.
What's your
Although I did see one article. So the couple in Sissonsville
uh-huh?
that had the kids they were keeping in the storage building got sentenced this week.
Oh,
I just about forgotten that. Like,
okay.
my feed has been so full of every other disaster.
Mm-hmm.
I actually almost forgot that one.
Let's get that then, and let's do that.
Yeah. Sorry, I had meant to send it to you, but
And
somewhere in the week it didn't get sent.
New York Times, you're going to have to do better at reporting if you expect me to pay you.
Ew, no, not New York Times. Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
Here we go.
We have a lot more local resources.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this was kind of, I don't want to say backyard, but
It's close to it. I mean,
it's a reasonably close story.
mm-hmm.
So from NPR News, and that's M as in Mary PR News. Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia couple sentenced to prison for abusing children they adopted while living in Minnesota. A West Virginia couple received the maximum sentences of decades in prison Wednesday for abusing their adoptive children, which included heavy labor, locking them in bedrooms, forcing some to sleep on concrete floors, and making them stand for hours with their hands on their heads. Janine K. Whitefeather received up to 215 years in prison, and her husband, Donald Lance, got a term of up to 160 years. A Kanawha County jury on January 29th found the pair guilty on multiple counts of forced labor, human trafficking, and child abuse and neglect. Whitefeather also was convicted of civil rights violations based on race. Whitefeather will be eligible for parole after serving 40 years, and Lance after 30. Quote, you brought these children to West Virginia, a place that I know as almost heaven, and you put them in hell. This court will now put you in yours. Circuit Judge Mary Claire Akers told the defendants, and may God have mercy on your souls, because this court will not. One by one, letters written by 4 of the children were read in court by the prosecutor office's victim advocate. Some of the children stood by the advocate's side as she read. The letter said the children endured unspeakable trauma, have difficulty trusting anyone, suffer nightmares, and that they question and fear affection. The oldest girl, now 18, addressed the court directly, telling Whitefeather, I'll never understand how you can sleep at night. I want you to know that you are a monster. Akers previously ordered news outlets not to publish the children's names or use their images. The couple, who are white, adopted the 5 black siblings while living in Minnesota, moved to a farm in Washington State in 2018, then brought the family to West Virginia in May 2023, when the children ranged in age from 5 to 16. 5 months after their arrival in Sissonville, the couple was arrested after neighbors saw Lance lock the oldest girl and her teenage brother in a shed and leave the property. A deputy used a crowbar to get them out. Inside the main residence, a 9-year-old girl was found crying in a loft alone with no protection from falling, according to a criminal complaint. The children were found in dirty clothes and smelling of body odor, deputies said, and the oldest boy was found barefoot with what appeared to be sores on his feet. The fourth child was with Lance when he eventually returned, and deputies were later led to a 5-year-old girl. All 5 were turned over to Child Protective Services after the couple's arrest. So last month, the oldest daughter sued the couple, alleging severe physical and emotional abuse and neglect that scarred her permanently. After Whitefeather and Lance made brief statements in court, Akers said they refused to take responsibility for their actions. The judge pointed to a pre-sentencing report in which the couple blamed their real estate agent for not finding a place isolated enough, Akers said. But I guess you should have explained to your realtor that you needed an isolated place away from people so that you could continue to abuse your children. Children were forced to use hands for digging. During trial, neighbors testified they never saw the children play and witnessed Lance make them stand in line or perform difficult chores around the yard, including lifting heavy items. After Lance noticed the curious neighbors, the children mostly stayed indoors. The eldest daughter testified the outdoor work occurred mostly in Washington and that some of them were forced to use their hands for digging. She also said the children were cursed at all the time and that Whitefeather used racist language. The daughter said Whitefeather gave preferential treatment to the youngest child who wasn't involved in any of the charges and that Whitefeather had told the other children that she wished for a life without them. The daughter also said the children were fed a steady diet of peanut butter sandwiches at scheduled times, some left over from a previous meal. Some kids were forced to stand in their rooms for hours and keep their hands on their heads. The oldest girl and boy shared a room, were forced to sleep on the floor, and used the same bucket for the bathroom, while the other held up a sheet for privacy from the home's security cameras, according to testimony. The couple and their attorneys pushed back on the accusations, with Lance testifying that the chores were assigned to teach the children responsibility. The defense argued the couple was simply overwhelmed with trying to get help for the children's mental health issues, abuse, and trauma from their biological home. Lance's attorney, John Balanovich, said the state's child welfare agency, which the family requested help from several times, quote, dropped the ball the most in this case. A forensic psychologist for the prosecution testified that the couple's treatment of the children had worsened their conditions. Assistant prosecutor Madison Tuck said the couple never sought help for the oldest boy, despite a behavioral health clinic being just minutes from their home. The boy, whose physical altercation with Whitefeather in 2022 was cited by attorneys as the start of the family's internal struggles, currently is receiving full-time care in a psychiatric facility. Whitefeather's attorney, Mark Plants, said during closing arguments that the couple was only guilty of making poor parenting decisions. These are farm people that do farm chores, Plants said. It wasn't about race. It wasn't about forced labor.
No, you don't get that.
That's that. Well, clearly the judge was just like, F that sideways.
Right.
Like, that's not, no. I don't know what you were thinking in terms of a defense, but that doesn't even begin.
Right.
Like, and I think that to some extent, if we were just talking about, like, the chores, and otherwise well taken care of children who had nice beds inside the house, that were fed appropriate meals, that were, taken to doctor's appointments, treated, decently and humanely. Okay, you might be able to escape charges just for that part.
Right.
And go, okay, look, y'all made, like, this is not appropriate for this age of child, or
right.
these ages of children, or for children to be doing this kind of physical labor.
Right.
You went too far. That's not even the beginning.
No, it's not even the beginning. It's not even.
That's the little bit of the iceberg of this case that just through the water. You might have gotten away with it.
Right.
You might have gotten away with it. Then then everything else that followed.
Right. Now, but I want to talk about the chore thing. Now, granted, there is a kid on, I think it's TikTok, it may be YouTube. He's probably 12 and could outdrive both of us on a tractor, a grind fouler, a scraper, whatever. He's up there moving, sweeping, not even thinking. Like, he outdrives his grandfather in this equipment.
Well, again, but using equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make some arguments. Maybe it's not appropriate for this age of child to have access to this heavy duty of equipment. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. But is using equipment, you're not bare hand digging.
Right.
And manually lifting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like those are, again, these parents might one day find themselves with like a knock on the door from their children and families unit going, we know it's a rural area. We know this is pretty normal around here. Don't. Let the child get a little older and then sure, go for it. Let them turn 16, get a driver's license, and go on out there.
Right. I'm thinking more likely they may get a knock on the door from the sheriff.
Yeah.
Going, your 14-year-old has a speeding ticket. Here you go. From the tractor. Because I'm sorry, I find it funny. I also find it really cool that he's on the mic with his dad, the radio with his dad. They've got it set up to where they can see him. They know where he's at. One of the things is him being called into the barn so he can warm up the heated barn so he can warm up and get dinner. That's royal life.
Well, it is royal life, but in many ways, there's. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to see that kid as abused.
Right.
Necessarily, and even if there are some people that are overly concerned about. And I could see that. I think it would be a logical argument. Is 12's a little young. You would have to really pay attention to the individual maturity of that child.
Right.
To really make sure that they understand what they're doing while they're driving a really heavy piece of equipment and get the idea that, like, it's,
right.
You can get very badly injured if you screw up here. So again, I could see the argument. Yeah, and Shannon's bringing up, I was 12 and driving trucks on back roads that said farm use on the side. LOL, don't be dumb. Yeah, that's a big part of it. That, like, you want to overly simplify it. Yeah, don't be dumb. Right. But, again, you could make a logical argument that a 12-year-old does not necessarily developmentally, like if you go with normal development scales, that's young. That's young. It doesn't mean it, and what I'm talking about is some kids are very much capable.
Right.
And
he outdrives his 60-year-old grandfather.
Yeah, it would be perfectly fine, perfectly capable, not an issue.
All right.
You will also run into 12-year-olds that I'm not sure should operate a paperclip.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's above their abilities. So as long as, and again, not an expert, but I think the general theory would be, as long as you're, keeping it reasonable to what the child can handle.
Right.
This isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
But you could definitely understand someone going, I don't think that kid's old enough.
Right.
And maybe picking up a phone and being like, I don't know what's going on here. I think someone needs to check it out. That would all be legit, and you would totally understand if, like, someone got involved, knocked on your door. Why is your 12-year-old driving a giant, massive, heavy piece of equipment? Like, do they have the maturity to be doing this? Is this safe? You would totally understand that. I think anyone would. And then you gently go through the process and, like, look, totally capable.
Right.
And not abused in any other way. This is not what he's doing instead of going to school. This is not what he's doing instead of
Right.
like this kid has ample playtime, receives ample food and care,
Right.
is not being used as just strictly farm labor and worked to death.
Right. He's doing it because it's fun. It's part of, being racial and fun. That's what this defendant tried to argue. No.
Yeah, and that's where I'm sitting here going, oh, the tip of the iceberg is
Right.
that part of it. Like you
Right.
might have gotten away with it if that's all you did wrong in the whole scenario.
Right.
If it was just, we asked the kids to do way too much and we understand that now.
Right.
But they were otherwise taken care of. But they were otherwise, kept and well housed and well fed and were sleeping on beds and, high.
Right.
High. No, you basically with a outdoor shed recreated a miniature version of a plantation.
Yes.
And it's kind of hard to not argue that
Right.
That's what you did.
Right. And furthermore, what got me more is like, oh, our realtor should have found us a more isolated spot. No.
Yeah. Really, I can't even believe someone wanted to make that argument.
Oh yeah.
Like you tried to make the argument that that is the most Scooby-Doo, those meddling kids argument in the whole thing is, well, if we'd been more isolated, no one would have found out. Do you understand that's worse?
Right. What's even scary is they had signed a contract to buy a farm in Beckley.
Mm-hmm. Like I feel like I almost want to sit here and go, no one can be this stupid. I'm clearly missing something in this argument that's being made.
Right.
Because I really don't think you can be this, I wrote a trivia jack, stupid in your defense of like, well, if we'd been more isolated, this wouldn't have been a problem.
Right.
What? Like that's not better. That's worse.
Yeah.
You're blaming your realtor for the fact you got caught.
Right.
Not for what occurred, but for getting caught and not getting away with it forever or longer.
Right. And that's
the argument.
Right. Now I do have to give them one cookie. I am glad they did not try to, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, well, but it seems like they really don't get it. Like, It's not that they're saying the words, I don't know what you're talking about. We never did any of that thing.
Yeah.
I could almost have a better appreciation for being so screwed in the head that you didn't know what you were doing was wrong.
Right.
Or just not acknowledging that ever happened.
Right.
Like I could almost understand that more than being like, well, it wasn't ideal.
Right.
And just like wasn't ideal like that, because that seems to be the and not a direct comment, but ultimately what it sounds like. Well, it wasn't ideal, but is the level of reaction they seem to have to this as well. It wasn't ideal.
Right.
I'm sorry. It wasn't ideal is like the reaction I have to getting a subcompact instead of a full-size car when I rent.
Right.
It isn't ideal is my reaction to like my luggage is delayed because the plane that it went out on is also delayed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it isn't ideal, but here's where we are and we're going to work through that.
Right.
And that seems to be the tactic or the mindset that like, you don't see any, like we don't really see anything wrong here. I mean, it's not like we do, but you know, like it's a little like
Right.
less than ideal.
Right.
I mean, little less than ideal is what happens when you have to put like 5 twin beds in the living room for these kids.
Right.
Not when you call and order a fucking storage building and they go get some cardboard.
Right.
That's not less than ideal. That's deplorable.
Right.
That is undefensible. And I mean, we're not even talking about like, well, okay, a lot of things went wrong here.
Right.
Like this was a bad camping trip for a weekend.
Right.
Or this was a horrible mix-up with our furniture got sent where the fuck ever when we moved, and this is how we had to rough it for a few days till we could straighten that out.
Right.
This is literally how you house these children for years.
Right.
Like, do you like that's not less than ideal.
Right.
Like, and you don't seem to have been suffering.
Right.
Like, so like that whole kind of mindset of less than ideal. Yeah, no, I mean, so to try to then make the argument these are farm people that do farm chores, it wasn't about race, it wasn't about forced labor. Really? Because it very much sounds like your defendant,
Right.
your defendants, both attorneys there, both of these people went, adopted a family of children, and either before they did that or after, somewhere in there, literally got employees, farm hands for their farm. That they then went one step further than just being like, well, here's a bunkhouse and a bed and, you know, facilities. You're going to earn your keep. Which would have been, okay, that's not cool, but not the worst thing that could happen.
Right.
I mean, you know, it sounds a little more prison-y than it does, you know, custody of children-y.
Right.
But okay, you know, don't like it, but less than ideal. Okay, I could follow that.
Right.
No, you went wholeheartedly back in time.
Right.
And effectively just dropped a shed, said, here's where you live now. And you're just going to suffer.
Right.
And you're going to suffer for my entertainment or to teach you a lesson, whatever that may be. You don't seem to understand what the lesson was.
Right.
And I'm not sure that they did either. Other than you know, they had the ability to do this to you. And so they did. Like, again, try to explain to me what you think.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you, because this is the other part I struggle with, is like this whole idea that like you're going to make these kids stand for hours with their hands on their head.
Right.
What were you teaching?
Right.
What's the lesson here? Like when you put a child in timeout, when you make them stand in a corner, when you know, go sit on the steps, you know, whatever. Right. When you do those things, there's typically an attached idea of you were trying to communicate something.
Right.
And that this is a punishment for doing a thing.
Right.
And that the lesson you're supposed to learn is don't do that. What was it?
Right.
What was it? Exist? Was that the
lesson
you were supposed to learn? Don't exist. Don't breathe. Don't need food, water, shelter. Work faster. Work. What were you? What was this about? Other than you could tell them to do it and harm them if they didn't.
Right.
So they did it.
Sure.
And because that's the difference between, okay, this may not be an appropriate form of punishment for the action or for the age of the child.
Right.
And, if we're talking about 30 minutes standing in a corner with your hands on your head, that would be horribly inappropriate or potentially horribly inappropriate and less than ideal.
Right.
And that's a fixable thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about hours and days.
Right.
For what?
Right.
That's just straight up.
Right.
There's no rhyme. There's no reason. They're not supposed to learn anything. It's because you could.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right. So when my cousin was 14, he cussed me, and my grandma put him in timeout. All he had to do was be quiet for 15 minutes. It took him 13 and a half hours before he could manage it. But I never had that bad a problem out of him after that, because when it comes to high or low road, I'll take us all to hell.
Uh-huh.
All right.
All right.
And see, that's kind of the problem. So he was 14, cussed me out. All he had to do was be quiet for 15 minutes. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go out on a limb. Someone needed like an evaluation for ADHD, because that is so oppositional defiant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is, I'm not going to do what you say no matter what.
Right.
That is like Christina Crawford and that fucking steak.
Right.
Like, that is, yeah. But Jesus, 13 and a half hours before we can manage it.
It takes a moment, especially when they're all worked up.
He did later. He had ADHD, ODD, and bipolar.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Like that moment, and granted, from a family of people with ADHD. Yeah, that would have been my first clue right there, is if it took him 13 and a half hours to shut up for 15 minutes.
Right.
That's not a normal child behavior.
Right.
As in, that is not a neurotypical child behavior.
Right.
20, 30 minutes, maybe.
Right.
As in 20, 30 minutes for them to get the, you're not leaving this spot until you do the thing.
Right. Oh, froze. Yay, he's on timeout for a minute. We'll see if he gets back real fast.
Get his way.
There we
there
go.
he is. But he had a habit of blowing up to get his way, and I was just, I don't do that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's often part of the fight with ADHD is like, and especially the ODD part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's that part will drive you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you come at a kid like you would come at anyone else,
Mm-hmm.
in that I'm the parent, you're the child, you're going to effing listen, they will teach you, oh, no,
Mm-hmm.
I won't.
Right.
Like, or any win you have in that moment, or in that regard, it is hard fought.
Right.
And it is way harder than any other kid that, again, most kids, 20, 30 minutes would be your max out.
Right.
On the idea that all you have to do is stand here, shut up for 15 minutes, and then you're done.
Right.
20 or 30 minutes of arguing, back talk, crying, whining, it's not fair, whatever. That's usually the point that's subsided and they've gotten it like, this is what I got to do.
Right.
And so 15 minutes, I'm done.
Right. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, and there's comments going through here. You can take them on.
All right. So I was a stubborn kid, but if you could communicate a good reason, I'd be reasonable. LOL, I sat for almost 24 hours refusing to eat beanie weenies and canned spinach. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little different. Like, that's one of those weird, like, you'll eat whatever I put in front of you, and no, I will not.
Mm-hmm.
That one you can see, like, sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, that kind of goes back to Christina Crawford and the steak, but you know.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Love diving into metaphysical topics, psychic insights, and lively discussions? Now you can help keep the conversation going. By becoming a Patreon supporter of The Psychic Coffee Shop, you'll gain access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and special perks just for our patrons. Join our community and ensure that your favorite psychic show continues to thrive. Your support helps us bring more enlightening episodes, special guests, and deep dives into the world of the unseen. Become a patron today and enjoy a cup of wisdom with us every week. Click the link to join the baristas and unlock exclusive content. Thank you for your support.
Unlock your full potential with Aeson Knight's life coaching. Are you ready to take control of your life and manifest the future you deserve? Aeson Knight, a seasoned life coach and master psychic, is here to guide you on a transformative journey. Whether you're navigating personal challenges, career transitions, or seeking spiritual growth, Aeson's life coaching services offer tailored guidance to help you achieve your goals. With Aeson by your side, you'll discover the tools to overcome obstacles, embrace your true self, and create a life filled with purpose and fulfillment. His unique blend of spiritual insight and practical coaching empowers you to turn your dreams into reality. Ready to make a change? Book your session today and start your journey to a more empowered, balanced, and joyful life with Aeson Knight. Click the link to schedule your first session and step into your power. Are you ready?
All right, and we are back. Sorry, fluid pills. Gotta love them.
Oh, yes. All right. So Brenda says mine was shut up. Okay, good luck everyone trying to get me to talk again. Yeah, no, I understand. Like, for some people, it was like, just tell me to shut up once. I'm good. I'm good for all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a little more there. So when it came to being stubborn and willful, he was woefully unarmed. Talking about the 24 hours on beanie weenies and canned spinach, and 15 minutes of quiet for 13 and a half hours to get there. Yeah, like, and sometimes it's also that moment where, like, as a parent, like, you gotta realize when it's like I've gone unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone unreasonable. Like, I'm just
right.
We got to figure out something different. This is a Lock Torrance moment. This is not parenting.
Right. Congratulations, Dark Huntress. I love this though.
Yeah, that would tell me to shut up, and I'd suddenly develop the impulse to sing "This Is the Song That Never Ends."
Okay, so let's hop over and let's talk on the first Reddit here.
Oh, all right. Let's see what we got. Seeking signs of intelligence. So this is Ask Gay Bros over 30. In the flare is 35 to 39 age range. My husband and I have 2 dogs and 1 cat. I got up early this morning, let my golden retriever, Autumn, out and laid down on the couch. When I did this, my cat Nala jumped up and laid on my chest for some cuddles. This post is really about her. I've always been a dog person, but Nala showed up outside my house as a kitten just as it was starting to get cold 7 or 8 years ago. I've always been fascinated by how undeniably intelligent she is. She's not solving crimes, but as she was laying on my chest this morning, Autumn barked at the back door. Autumn is a very soft-spoken lady, and I could tell this bark was unusually louder and maybe a little panicked. Nala clocked the bark at the same time I did, but she didn't react how I thought she would. She turned and looked at the back door, looked at me, got up, and quickly ran to the back door. I saw that it had started raining, hence the slightly panicked single bark from Autumn. I opened the door and let her in, and Nala was all over Autumn, sniffing Autumn's face, rubbing her forehead on Autumn's chest, legs, etc. Nala checked over Autumn and then slowly led, walking while pausing and looking to be sure Autumn was following, Autumn to the front room where our youngest dog is not allowed to go. Nala uses this room to get away from the ruckus as needed, and it felt like she was leading her sister to a safe place to recover. I'm curious what kinds of pets the rest of my homosexual brethren have, and if any moments of intelligence you may have witnessed with them.
Yeah. Now, of course, we had Vlad. Vlad's now moved on.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. Our two current ones, it's debatable on intelligence by the day.
Well, no, I think Anna's a little easier in this one.
Mm-hmm.
God help Gizmo. He's just such a backwards puppy.
He is.
He just, everything, he does the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Literally almost, he does the opposite.
Yeah.
And it makes it kind of funny on one hand, but then also just really confusing for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he barks in situations that you wouldn't expect him to.
Mm-hmm.
But then he doesn't bark in situations where you would.
Yeah.
He will. It is just so backwards with him. Mm-hmm. It's like someone mounted him wrong. You know what I mean? Everything's just a little off.
Yeah.
He's not dumb.
No, he's highly intelligent, and he figures out how to escape his room quite often.
Oh, yeah. But then when he gets out, he figures out how to escape his room. He also has figured out repeatedly how to escape the yard. Never had an issue with that. But then when he gets out, it's not to run away or to go do something. He becomes the biggest, dumbest tourist of our neighborhood.
He does.
He just calmly, slowly, happily walks around just cool.
Yeah, and then comes running. As soon as I walk out, and it's me or him, preferably him, he will come faster to you than he does me.
Yeah, he's just a big dumb tourist. He's not going to hurt anyone. He's not going to get in trouble or do anything really bad. You know what I mean? He's not trying to get into trash cans or other people's yards or go after them or chase. None of that. None of that is what he does. He's just this big dumb tourist who doesn't know any better.
Right.
And he's, wow, look at all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Get back in the house.
Well, and apparently that's a breed thing.
Car.
Apparently that's a breed thing because we had another Australian Shepherd on the street. We've discovered a cute one. I go out this morning to go pick up our neighbor, and I look over and there's another Australian Shepherd that looks like Gizmo, but that he had gotten bleached, and I'm like, that's not Gizmo.
No, she doesn't.
Yes, she does.
No, Tuna looks nothing.
Anyway,
she has the shape.
of
any other Aussie, just like Gizmo has, but the coloring, no, I could tell them apart from a mile.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Totally
She's a light. She's very much a light colored Gizmo, and I'm like, we better get Gizmo in one, and two, it's like, who are you and why don't you go home?
I'm looking around. I'm a tourist. I'm a baby.
Uh-huh.
Like that's basically the mentality of like Gizmo, at least, is he gets out and it's like, I'm a baby.
Right.
Like, I'm adorable. Like, I don't do hard labor. Like thinking.
Yeah, which I would be perfectly fine with them touring the neighborhood, except for the boxer.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying he is incapable of harm. I'm just saying, in general, that's not why he got out. It's not to go after other dogs or other people or anything like that. He got out to go explore.
Yeah.
And will repeatedly do it.
Uh-huh.
And it's just, at this point, it's like trying to stop it is just like, it's easier to just deal with the damn consequence. Because otherwise, I don't know how, like, as in just accept that it's going to happen, hope that it doesn't, deal with it when it does, and move on. Just accept it. This is a thing. Now with Anna, no, she's intentionally, like, oh no, she's intelligent. We're real sure of that. She was the one that figured out how to con the dogs into like doing shit for her. And my first realization of that was when she knocked over the what was that, pumpkin bread or a pumpkin cake?
Pumpkin cake.
Yeah. No way the dogs got up and got it.
Right.
We know this. No way the dogs got into the cake. She jumped up and knocked it off. And I don't know what all she got out of that later other than like dominance over the dogs. Like, but no, she had no reason.
Maybe she ate it because she is bad about eating bread.
Oh, well, she attacks bread. She doesn't eat it. If you'll pay careful attention, she attacks it. She doesn't eat it. Or she barely nibbles at it.
Right.
Like, I think it's just because she can. Not really because she wants it. Like, I think there's something about just the physical act of her teeth into it she appreciates. Oh yeah, road ID tag for Gizmo's collar. My favorite tag. It's customizable and fits on the collar, and doesn't hang, like dangle or hang. Yeah. No. I mean, good luck if you tried to steal him. And I really don't think he'll go far.
Nah.
Like, I mean, I mean, at least so far, and this is not a first, second, or third time offense for him. But he's never more than like 3 or 4 houses away.
Yeah.
And he'll just kind of circle. You know, like it's all just new and interesting every time he goes past.
Right.
And it's like, oh my God. Like, you're not even a good tourist. You're not trying to go to far-flung destinations.
No. But how is
it like if we got loose and went to Fayetteville?
But
you know, like,
yeah, but you weren't a pet owner when you came.
No.
You've gotten better with them.
Well, I don't even really consider myself exactly a pet owner now. I'm a pet support person. Like, I mean, the dog's yours, the cat's Mikey's. You know, they're not really. I mean,
they're yours. Gizmo likes you better. He behaves better for you.
He listens better than you, unless he's gotten out to go exploring, and then he's like, okay, like, all right.
Yeah, but that's because I put gruff behind my voice. But you know.
Which really you don't even have to do. Like, he already knows he did it. You know what I mean? Like, he's just waiting.
Right. So,
like, and that's where I say there's intelligence, is he knows he's going to get out. He knows what he's going to do.
Right.
He knows we're going to come out for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows what to do immediately when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, most times
he's not unclear.
Yeah.
He just chose to do it.
Well, the first few times he just came to the front door.
Yeah. Well, but we don't know exactly how long he was out.
No, we don't.
And then we have the neighbor's dog.
Uh-huh.
Which, bless her heart, about every time she's gotten out, it's been to come to our yard, and it's been because there's been something that kept us from putting the dogs out.
Right.
And so she gets really upset if she doesn't see our dogs within a 12-hour window.
Right.
Or smell them or whatever. Like, I haven't figured that part out exactly. But no, she'll come right across. Like it's a struggle. She's a Saint Bernard over the fence. And she just starts tracking them. She's not getting into anything. She's not tearing anything up. She's absolute sweetheart. We love her to death. She's a great dog.
Right.
But she will come over to investigate what the hell happened to her neighbors. Every time. Because we had 2 incidents where that occurred that unfortunately we had to be gone.
Right.
And unfortunately with Gizmo especially, like, it's hard to find someone to Gizmo set because that's a little dangerous or a little uncomfortable, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
But no, like, there was twice that it was like, I think it's right around, it may not even be like 12 hours, but we know that was the total time. Like, again, there was an oops. But like, that was the total time. All the puppies were fine. All the animals were fine for 12 hours. But that's how long we were gone. And somewhere in there, she came looking for her neighbors.
Yeah.
Where the hell are you?
Right.
And just apparently kept tracing the backyard. Like, where did you go? Did someone take you? What was there a crime? Were you like, what happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, the neighbor kept apologizing. I'm so sorry, the dog's in your yard. I'm so sorry. I'll get home and take care of her. We're gonna be gone. She, like, leave her there, but I think she's distressed.
Right.
Like, she doesn't understand what just happened, and we're sorry if we had known.
Yeah, we would have sent a warning.
Figured out something different. But no, again, another dog that it's like, no, there's intelligence there, and there's a whole community's thought process and all of it there for the dog, because she literally tracked the backyard. That's all she did. She wasn't mad. She wasn't in. She just wanted to know what happened.
Right. Where are they?
And every time, right, there is a long window that the dogs don't go out. She gets upset and she comes over. That's all she does. She doesn't run the neighborhood. She doesn't get out to attack anyone. None of it. She just wants to know where her neighbors are.
Right. And I think the only thing she'd ever do is lick somebody to death. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah. I think the worst thing you would have to fear from her is she gets overly excited and lunges.
Right.
Hold me. Because I think she is one that we've heard is also convinced she's a lap puppy.
Every Saint Bernard is a lap puppy.
You are a fully grown Saint Bernard. You're not a lap puppy. You're a reason for a hip replacement. That's what you are. You do not get to dive at people.
All right, so let's move on to this other one. So it's more of a questionnaire, but
all right. So also ask gay bros over 30, and again the 35 to 39 range. What is something your husband, boyfriend, partner, special man, friend do recently that you found utterly endearing? The past weekend I was off from work, so I spent 6 hours making an authentic Mexican tangine in my new tangine. I carefully cut each vegetable to size, made my own harissa in my mortar and pedestal, along with my own spice blend after researching online, carefully prepared it, and then made a delicious pine nut couscous to accompany the tangine. My husband, who is my guinea pig for my cooking experiments, enjoyed the food, but it was more labor intensive than I imagined. Fast forward to last night, I got home late from work. My husband was working away on his research and told me he hadn't eaten all day, nor did he have time to cook since he has a deadline coming up soon. So I just boiled some whole wheat pasta, chopped a part of an onion, used garlic, don't judge me, and took canned beans and all the pickled Mediterranean ingredients we have in the fridge and dumped them into a bowl. My husband tried it and was so excited. He absolutely loved the food, asked for seconds, and then asked if he could keep the leftovers for lunch the next day. He was so happy that we were cuddling on the couch. One thing, watching our favorite game show, we ended up Netflix and chilling, which doesn't happen as often considering we've been together almost 10 years. He was super frisky this morning as well. And well, he's cleaning all the silicone lube from our shower because that shit is dangerous. So things went well. Perhaps it's just the postcoital bliss that is clouding my judgment, but it's adorable how something as simple as making a lazy pasta salad leading to such strong reaction, whereas my labor of love tangine wasn't as well received. So, Gabrose, has your husband done something recently that you found endearing like this? I almost feel like OP is posting just to be like, God damn it, I made a fucking tangine. And the man gets excited for dump pasta.
Uh-huh.
But, okay, anyway, so this is... That one was good. That one's good. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Sorry,
do what now?
So answer the question.
I mean, see, I'm struggling with the question because the question isn't the question. I literally feel like the question is really about, so what's the thing that you slaved over that they ignored? And then the dumb thing you did that they were just like, I mean, isn't it?
I know. Well, for me, it's been the pot of beans here lately.
Okay, that you made. Did I underreact or overreact? What did I do?
Okay, I just figured it's a pot of beans. Yeah, it's dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to really pay much attention to it. It's dinner. You were overly excited with those. You ate like 2 or 3 bowls, and then you went looking for the leftovers
that we didn't have because you killed them.
Yes,
because the leftovers were like this much at the bottom of a little tiny container. I knew there was probably no hope for them, but I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, so you got another pot of them yesterday. But it's stuff like that for me.
Yeah. I think I was more excited with the rice that I did, like you. I think I was more excited about the rice that you did, the red beans and rice you didn't think you were gonna like. Yeah. I don't know what beans feature so heavily. Like, we don't normally make all that many beans, just FYI. But it's been twice recently we've made bean-based dishes.
Yeah, they're cheap.
As in red beans and rice, and then, bowl of beans.
That's because you said you liked my red beans and rice.
Well, but I was the one that made the red beans and rice.
Yeah, and you used flavor.
Yeah, the insulted red beans and rice. Because he did. I'm cooking. I think I'm doing a good job. I'm doing a good thing. He has been busier than hell. I'll make dinner. It'll be fine. And then he's like, well, I hope it has flavor. And I was like, I really need a sale on rhododendrons right now. And I was like, the fuck you just said to me? And I like you instantly saw the recognition of, I don't know exactly what I meant to say. But I don't think that was the right way to communicate.
Right, because
and it was like,
we
I'm
cook
just gonna
differently.
scurry off now. Like you just gotta
right, but we cook differently. I cook with a lot of spices, a lot of spice in general, a lot of peppers and onions and mushrooms and garlic.
Oh yeah, so well, there's a big difference between not spicy enough and I hope it has flavor.
Honey, you don't cook with salt.
No, I don't. It is a table ingredient. It is on the table. You want salt, add salt. Like, no.
That's why I have a shaker of all-purpose seasoning.
Yeah, you can have all the salt you want. I can't do it. I'm a little taste-wise, because here's the fun thing of growing up and being like the midlife crisis show is you're surrounded by really old people that have hypertension.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like salt was like excluded. And so I've gotten to a point or developed at a point basically. Too much salt is a very low threshold for me. No, I use spices. I just like high salt isn't like the feature. Now, trying to bring home Bambi over here. Will I gladly just put a cube of salt as a starter for like cereal. Or literally anything, and be like, it's his cowbell, really. Like he will bang that salt shaker with a chopstick, like the dish needs more cowbell.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, example, I made him his favorite dish, which is chicken, broccoli, and rice casserole.
Yeah, see, hi. Brenda's with me. She gets it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just pepper, no extra spices. So wanted to throw garlic in there and a little bit of dehydrated onion. But anyhow, I'm covering mine in A1 sauce, and he's looking at me like I've lost my mind.
I'm sorry, what was this?
When I put A1 on mine.
On your what?
Chicken, broccoli, rice casserole.
I didn't even see you eat your chicken broccoli casserole. I don't know what torrid, inappropriate, arrestable offenses against a food you committed in the name of Paula Deen and the unholy trinity of, butter, A1, and Jesus.
I don't know anymore, especially since I went gluten-free, is like load up the spices.
Fair enough.
Start off with garlic and peppers and work your way through.
Yeah. Brenda's like, A1 on it, is it good? I will never know the answer to that question because nowhere in my head does pour the A1 on the chicken broccoli rice.
Yes, it's good. You make the casserole so it's all little blocks, and you put it into the microwave, and you spread the A1 on top like you do a meatloaf. Delish. Cheesy goodness.
There's things he does to food, I swear, y'all, should be signs that an exorcism needs to be performed.
Okay.
I'm just saying, you do things to food that it's like, what in the world possessed you? Oh, that's the problem. Got it. Something has possessed him. You do though. There's some things you pull with food. I'm still not sure about this whole A1 is the go-to. Let me just say, he loves his A1.
Yep.
Like, it is his hot sauce. He puts that shit on everything.
Or Taco Bell mouth sauce.
Yes. Yes. Or hot chili sauce. Or,
Yep.
yeah. Those are the three big ones.
Ooh. Must try.
Oh, see, now there we go. I put Graham Marsala in my taco seasoning. That sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable.
It does. It does. All right. So we done Ask Overs. Let's find out if you're the asshole this week.
All right. What we got? What we got? Oh, he's finding one. He's debating one.
Here we go.
All right. Am I the asshole for vetoing my partner's plan to build a shed in our backyard? Can I just say this one doesn't go well at the end of a show that we started about children and sheds?
I know.
All right. So my 30s female partner, 30s male, and I originally agreed that we split our 2-car garage, half for him, half for me. That never happened. He completely took over the entire space, and I've never had any room in there. It's been a low-level point of resentment for me for a while. Recently, he brought up the idea of building a shed in the backyard so he could clear out my side of the garage. I was on board, mostly because I just want to park my car in there and maybe have a bit of storage for holiday decorations, bikes, etc. In my head, I assumed he meant a small, reasonable shed, maybe 8 by 8 feet with a couple feet of clearance from the fence. We're also planning a garden in the backyard, so I built a few raised planter boxes and placed them in what I thought was a good spot that still left plenty of room for the shed. Today, he came outside and said the planters couldn't go where I put them because that's where the shed is going. I was confused since the planters are about 20 feet from the fence. Turns out he's planning to build an 18 by 18 foot shed with 5 feet of space around it on all sides, which would take up more than a third of our entire backyard. I was shocked and immediately said, no, that's way beyond what I agreed to. He said, well, that's what I need to clear out the garage. Side note, the garage is so cluttered, it's borderline hoarder level, and he hasn't actually used it as a workshop in over a year because there's no space. When I asked if we could compromise on the size or if he could pare down some of his stuff, he said no. Then he said, well, I guess I'm not cleaning out the garage then. Now I feel kind of guilty for saying no to the shed, but I also feel like he completely blindsided me and expected me to just go along with something way more extreme than what we discussed. Am I the asshole for vetoing the shed?
I don't think you're the asshole.
I mean, I'm trying to process that one. Okay, so typical garage size. So standard 2-car garage. Like I see the problem, I think in both directions is what I'm thinking. So in terms of garage sizes, oh come on, give me a. There we go. So standard 2-car garage is 22 foot by 20 foot. And those are minimums. That is a minimum. Wow. Okay, so I guess I kind of see what he was thinking. And like she's very clear on the fact that like it's loaded.
Right.
Their 20-foot by 22-foot garage is loaded, and that's a minimum. Their garage could be bigger.
Right.
But I think that the bigger problem is when you say shed, I kind of be with her thinking like 8x8,
Right.
8x10. Like, oh, I'm gonna get a shed and put my stuff in it,
Right.
and I guess keep half the garage.
Yeah.
Okay, like, and I think that might almost work out because half your garage is gonna be what 11 foot by 20.
Right.
Like if he would just clear out half the garage, that's 11 by 20.
Right.
So arguably a 10 by 10, 8 by 10, maybe
8x10.
like pack everything in.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be tight.
Well,
depending upon
you want a wood shop. How big of a wood shop do you need?
I mean, I probably would have gone for like at most like a 12 by 12.
Exactly. What he's wanting to do is build a whole nother house.
Well, no, it's not a whole nother house. It's a whole nother garage.
Right.
Like that's what he should have said from the beginning. I want to build a workshop garage.
Yeah.
It's not a shed.
No.
It's a garage.
Right.
I mean, I mean, it may be in shed form.
Right.
But it's, I mean, because I'm sorry, like 18 by 18, I thought that was like considered a mini barn.
Right.
Like what is this barn size? Like I thought that was a bare minimum on a, no? Maybe not. So let's see, barn sizes and prices. So yeah. Oh, come on. Oh no, barns are bigger.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I mean, I guess when you say it out loud, like 18 by 18 just seems kind of huge.
Yeah. It's 2 foot smaller than this house.
Just like that's a lot of square footage there, guys.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I assume their house is bigger than that.
Right.
Because otherwise, I mean, you're just building a little compound over there, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, hey, the bigger the shed, the less you have to mow. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Right.
But no, I think, like, is that the real problem of sheds? Is like everyone thinks like 8 by 8 or like 8 by 10, 10 by 10, maybe 12 by 12. And just like you suddenly hit that 18 by 18 and it's, oh my God, that's a building and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a whole 2-car garage. Or just about. Like, just about.
Right.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of building.
Right.
Like, okay, but let's get back to the real question. Am I the asshole for vetoing my partner's plan to build a shed in our backyard? I don't really think vetoing it per se is what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. This is not what I thought you were doing.
Right.
And when I agreed to this, I really needed to hear a number.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of where you were. Like, I think this is a communication fail.
Right.
I think ultimately, though, I'm going to go with everyone's shitty here. I think your husband has too much shit in your garage. Part one. Right. Part two, I think it really sucks that you were told, half would be yours, half would be his, and that's not what you got.
Right.
I really don't want to call you an asshole or even call you shitty. I'm struggling with that. I just think that you made a lot of assumptions about what he was doing. And then, like, didn't really understand, like, the garage. Like, you understand it. The garage is so cluttered. It's borderline hoarder level. Like, where did you think that was going to go? And I think more to the point is you're trying to somehow make all this fit in an 8x8, which I clearly, obviously, by the base size of a garage, like, yeah, shed meant different things to each person. Like, that's where this all falls apart. Like, he wanted to build a shed almost as big as your 2-car garage.
Right.
You thought 10 foot in each direction smaller. Like,
right.
It's almost an order of magnitude difference.
Yes.
So I understand why you like like I'd probably too. Because my God, that's what, over twice the size of what you expected. I mean, it literally is. Like, 18 by 18 is massive compared to 8 by 8. And then once another 5 feet of space around it on all sides, which is probably the property line offset.
Right.
So, yeah, like, I think you really have to stop and figure out what you want. Because right now it sounds like you want everything. You want half of your 2-car garage. You don't want a shed for him to move his stuff into that's bigger than 8 by 8.
Right.
And you don't want to take up a third of your yard with whatever he does do. I mean, something's got to give here. Like, you have to decide what you actually want more.
Right.
Like, I don't think your initial reaction is wrong. So if that's what you're really looking for, I don't think you're the asshole for going, like, stop.
Right.
We need to really talk this through. Like, what you thought and what I thought are totally different things, and we got to get on the same page.
Exactly.
But I think that, and I would agree that that's way beyond what you agreed to based on what you thought he meant.
Right.
But I also think that what you thought he meant was way overly optimistic.
Yes.
Given what you already knew.
Yes.
Like, you can't take a hoarder level cluttered garage, 2 cars, and pare it down to 8 by 8. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So yeah, I think this is ultimately, I guess I'm going to go for not the asshole, and the advice portion is you really need to stop, however, and figure out what you actually want. Because right now you're kind of wanting a little bit of everything.
Right.
And you're basically setting yourself up to get nothing of anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So with that, let's check the vote up. Ooh, it's a split decision.
That's coming in quick.
Ooh. Ooh. No, you're not the asshole, but damn, you're in a deal pickle.
Yeah. Okay. I'll accept the dill pickle. I don't know.
Well, if I said, because we do eventually want to move our offices out of the house to the backyard. And if I said, oh, I'm building a shed and it's the size of the house, we have a problem.
I mean, that is a vastly different interpretation of a shed moment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, I'm thinking when you do an office, you're going to be well bounded in the 12 by 12. Like, that would be as big as you would consider going.
Yeah.
And that, no, basically 8 foot by 8 foot, I could see you maybe wanting to go 8 by 10 or 10 by 10. I could see somewhere in there.
Yeah.
you know, those are all reasonable numbers, but you know, because that's a fair amount of square footage for an office. I like if you came it like if I saw one, I don't even know how you get it back there. Like or even if you were to build it, I really don't know how you would get it all back there for 18 feet by 18 feet. You would have to literally like I don't even think you'd be in compliance on our lot.
No.
Like you would have to bring it so far up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, you're getting a shed. I'm getting jack shit is what that becomes.
Yes, and that's why I only want an 8 by 12.
Yeah,
and that's the only and that's only because I want two sections of plywood and one across.
Yeah, so that's so check online, Joe. I'm seeing 19,000 up to 32-foot shed. Huge loft.
Mm-hmm. That's a tiny house.
Literally people do it, and I think that's really what's skewing the idea of shed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like we all kind of have this in 30s and 40s though, 30s is what they are. So they're like 10, 12 years or more younger than us. But I still have trouble with that. You tell me it's a shed.
Mm-hmm.
I think of that stupid metal building with sliding doors.
Right.
Like I really have to struggle to think that no, it's like the Amish building.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
And can have a full-size door you don't have to duck through and everything else, and windows. And it's not just some stamped corrugated piece of metal with two flimsy little doors that eventually within like a month fly off track and never to properly operate again for any more than 5 minutes.
Right.
And that's it. It's literally meant to be like lawnmower and fertilizer, and that's it. That's all you throw in it.
Right.
It's basically safety storage, a good person deterrent for don't steal my lawnmower and shit.
Exactly. All right, guys. It's been a great show. This upcoming week is going to be very busy. A lot of new things are going to be shooting out. Be watching your email, be watching your Patreon, be watching the Discord. If you're not part of the Patreon, you want to join it. And with that, take it away, Joe.
All right. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Brenda, Joan Owen, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Caitlin Bell, Devin, and Bella. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. All right, guys. Have a lovely evening. Good night, y'all.
Good night.